Here is the translation of the text into English. I only found out about Leeds and my friend Rob's decade-long affair after his wife Beth's death, in a car accident. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known. Lead was too careful, hiding it well. But the death of her lover's wife threw her off balance. She became nervous, confused, and left her cloud account open on her laptop. Is it ethical to snoop through someone else's account? Of course not. Am I at fault for not closing the folder after realizing it was her private account? No, certainly not. It's better to know than not to know. If I hadn't discovered her affair, I wouldn't have disrupted that couple's life. There were photos of Lead and Rob in the folder, no sexual photos, but selfies of them on our bed, on Rob and Beth's bed, kissing selfies. In Lead's diary entries, she described the highlights of their encounters, not in detail, but with emotional nuances, about how happy she was when they managed to arrange a few days of business travel for me, putting me up in a motel 2 hours away. For example, after the initial shock, I thought a lot about the prospects for the rest of my life. There is no doubt that my marriage to Lead is over, but I also have no doubt that the prospects for Lead and Rob are quite bright, and at the expense of my sacrifice, at least morally. At the memorial table, besides me, Lead, and Rob, there were also some of Beth and Lead's close friends and Rob's partners, a total of 12 people. I was the fourth to speak. Friends, I said my speech would be long, and I apologize. Our 10-year history cannot be told in 2 sentences, but please listen to me. You can drink, and the most important thing is not to interrupt. So, this is a special marriage, a special relationship. When it first happened, I looked at Rob. Yes, Rob, it started without your consent. You didn't know at first. I don't remember, I think I frowned. Yes. Beth said that you talked about our connection a month after you married her. I must admit, I was very scared the first time I slept with your then fiancé. I almost got divorced. I'm sorry, Lead. I looked at my wife's surprised face. I know you want us to say something, but in the end, everything turned out fine. Beth managed to convince you to accept an open marriage, Rob, but I hesitated to tell Lead. Beth had pushed her out of my heart. I was very worried. Every time I had an amazing sexual encounter with Beth, I felt both ashamed of my deception and sorry for you. Fortunately, Rob, I smiled encouragingly at Lead's equally surprised face. By being intimate with my wife, he compensated for his status as a consenting cuckold. This is also the reason why our 2 marriages lasted so long. Actually, it was smooth sailing. Sweet Beth, it was her idea, wasn't it? Not to show that we were cross lovers. 3 men knew, and a pig knew too. She liked that German proverb. She convinced me to play the unconscious game until recently, when we 4 all managed to play this game where no one guessed each other's. I want to thank you for your tact, Rob, never letting anyone know that we were lovers with your wife, and you and me, those years of happiness. When I could enjoy Beth and Lead, when I could experience such opposite feelings, as a bull for your family and pretending to be cuckolded in our family. You didn't know, did you, friends? I looked around the room and saw Lead's 2 friends and Rob's partner, their eyes lowered. My God, I pretended to be truly surprised. Rob, did you really just say that? And you, Lead only told me about her connection with Rob. Her friend and awkwardly interjected, but nothing about you and Beth. I smiled sadly. Well, it's a pity our game wasn't perfect, but what now, especially since it ended almost a year ago. I sighed. Yes, Beth and I almost broke up. We almost stopped our dates. She had a new young lover. She couldn't divide herself between being with me and him. I accepted her decision. In the past few months, we didn't have much privacy. It was as if I was recalling an inner memory. The last time was on your wedding anniversary. I nodded friendly to a shocked Rob, but it was almost friendly sex. After Beth, I had a few very young girlfriends. I glanced at a pale Lead. I'm sorry, Lead, I didn't tell you that. I was just really embarrassed. Those girls were old enough to be our daughters. You would have laughed at me. Of course, this was outside of the arrangement between Beth and Rob. Between you and me, Rob mumbled, I knew nothing. Wait, I made a shocked expression. Are you telling me that neither of you knew that Beth and I were lovers when she was your fiancée and during your marriage? Our sex was at your wedding, just before you walked down the aisle. Lead, are you saying that Beth was just my lover? You two didn't become lovers because Beth suggested it, as she and I discussed. My God, Beth was lying to me. I hope my tears were as genuine as Lead's sincerity. The rest of the time until we sold the house and moved out with Lead, she spent most of the time crying. Only once did she lose her temper when she was drunk, with tears streaming down her face, tragically clutching her hands, asking me why I told her what I told her and how her whole life was shattered because of my absurd frankness. Rob began to drink very hard. It was a blow to him. It turned out that he didn't manipulate his wife, their marriage, but she did. I don't think he could stop drinking. By the way, he still avoids me. I wanted to end him by calling him in for a conversation in which I intended to repent and tell him about my shame in front of him, interspersed with details of my meetings with Beth. It didn't work. He ran away from me, and he drank and drank. He and Lead, of course, did not get married. Well, at least I avenged the 10 years of false marriage. I'm sorry, Beth. I hope you don't mind. Thank you to everyone who took the time to listen to today's story. If you like, please consider liking and subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share your thoughts on the events in the comments below. Take care.